I'm Jamie O'Kane, CPA, Small Business Advanced Tax Planning and Compliance Extraordinaire, and this is the Abundant Beans Podcast, the podcast that takes my love for learning what makes people tick while digging into the good, bad, and ugly of small business ownership. We strive to give you the insight that only those in the trenches of being and working with entrepreneurs can provide. Whew. Welcome to the Abundant Beans Podcast. This is going to be the second episode in a series about where we talk about how to be a good client and how to find an accountant. Like I said in the first episode, if you haven't listened to that, go ahead and back yourself up. There is going to be, or if there hasn't been yet, there's going to be a lot of people looking for accountants because their accountant let them go out of their services. Or just because it's time. The tax code is nutty and people need to stop DIYing. So wanted to talk about how to be an ideal client and how to know how to find an accountant. This is a question I get all the time, and it's hard. It's a hard situation because we're all accountants work in different ways. We have very traditional firms all the way up to super advisory firms. So I wanted to talk about how to find an accountant, give you some guidelines so that you can find the right fit for you and your business. So the first thing, it's always goal-based, y'all. The first thing is to know what type of relationship you want with your accountant. In the previous episode, I talked about examining your previous relationship with your accountant if you had one, and understanding what went right and what went wrong, and understanding what you need going forward. So what type of relationship do you want with your accountant? Accountants work in lots of different ways. We have on one side are just very quantity-based accountants. All they do is tax returns. You don't rarely talk to them during the year. They have a large amount of clients, and you're going to get a little amount of communication, and usually just once a year. On the other side of that spectrum, we have our advisory-based accountants, which is how we work. Those accountants have a very small client load generally, and they have a lot of touch points through the year in which they work with their clients. Those people can offer on the spectrum, people can offer bookkeeping, payroll, financial advisory, tax planning, buy-sell agreement help. There's a large spectrum of services that an accountant can provide, and there's a lot of different designations. I'm not really going to talk about that today, but what you need to know is what kind of accountant do you want, and what's important for you, and what's important for your business. The next thing to know is what are your actual needs? What are your communication expectations? Are you expecting to hire an accountant that is going to respond to your emails, or pick up the phone, or what kind of communication are you hoping for with your accountant? If you have a high level of need on communication, or you're looking for a fast response time, you're going to probably be looking for somebody more on that less clients, more communication spectrum. Know what your tax preparation complexity is. Every person I've ever talked to says, oh, my tax returns are really easy. Our job as accountants is to make you feel like it's really easy, but it's not. If you have a business, you likely have levels of complexity that you don't understand, which is fine. You're not supposed to understand those things, but know that it's probably not easy. Most tax returns, especially now that we've gone through 6 or 7 more sets of legislation and more coming down the pipeline right now, are not easy. There's a lot of moving pieces right now, especially with child tax credits, stimulus payments. These are all things that go on the tax return. So understand your tax prep complexity. Bookkeeping. Do you need this accountant to do bookkeeping for you? Is your bookkeeping accurate? Are they going to be doing cleanup? Do you need books done for the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? What do you need? Tax planning. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. Do you need tax planning? Not all tax professionals do actual tax planning. Many of them will do tax projections and say, thanks for giving me your things. Here's how much tax we think you're going to owe. But understand, how often do they do that? What percentage of clients do they do that with? Financial advising, that's an add-on a lot of accountants will do. There's also ones that do insurance, and there's a lot of options. There's a spectrum of things we can do. Do you want to meet with your accountant face-to-face in person? Or are you cool with virtual? Know the difference and know what's really necessary for you. Are you looking for somebody industry specific? We work with veterinarians, and we love working with veterinarians. And quite honestly, we're not really taking a whole lot of other people that aren't veterinarians at this point, because we have the ability to, in our niche, understand things very granularly for our clients. So if you're looking for somebody super industry specific to whatever industry your businesses are in, know that. If you need those specialty services, not everybody needs that. Not all accountants work like that. Most of them actually don't. It's really the difference between, do I need a general practitioner doctor or a general practitioner vet, or do I need a specialist? Is it the eyeballs I care about, or what needs to happen? Do you need a specialist or a generalist? Once you've figured that out, what do you need? Who do you want to work with? What's important to you? Ask for a specific referral. Talk to your colleagues in your industry. Ask friends that are business owners, but tell them what you specifically are looking for. Say, I'm looking for an accountant that does tax planning every year with me, who meets with me in person, has experience with my industry, and can do my bookkeeping on a monthly basis. Know what those specific things are and ask for referrals specifically for what you're looking for. Next step, check out their websites and their social media. Do they have a website? If they don't have a website, I don't know what to tell you. It's really hard. It's 2021. If you are looking at an accountant that doesn't have a website and they're really hard to find online, I would be very, very cautious about working with them, quite honestly. Anytime I've had to go research an accountant that I can't find, generally I'm looking at tax returns that look pretty darn shady. Do they have a website? Are they an established business? And find their social. They likely are on, if there's somebody that is a dynamic accountant that is constantly learning, they likely have social media accounts as well. Go check them out. See if their message resonates with you. Read the website. Is it just a generic website? There are 5 or 6 places that build accountants' generic websites. They all look exactly the same. And their service lists are all exactly the same. And they're ridiculously long lists of services. Look at those lists though and understand, do they provide what you're looking for? So the next thing to do is book a consult. So once you're like, I know what I want, and I think this, I'm going to pick maybe these 3 people to talk to. Book a consult. Don't book a meet and greet. I mean, you can if you really want to first, but make sure you have at least 30 minutes with the accountant, with somebody there. And if they won't give you that, ask if you can pay for some time, because you're going to have a lot of questions and you want your questions answered and you want to make sure that you're vetting this person properly. A 15-minute meet and greet's not going to get that for you. And make sure that you're getting the time you need and asking them and paying them up front. I say this all the time, paying them up front for some of their time is going to make you look like an ideal client for them, because you already are showing them that you appreciate and value their services and their time. Ask pointed questions. not what their prices are. That's the last thing we ask. We'll talk about that in a minute. What percentage of their clients do they talk to more than once a year? If it's important to you to have communication with them, ask them. What portion of your clients are you talking to? Do you do year-round tax planning? And if you do, what percentage of your clients are you actually doing that with? If they have a really small amount and that's something you want, know that that's not something they probably focus on. What is their communication policy and turnaround time? Are your phone calls and emails going to go into the black hole and never get responded to? Or are they structured so that you can get the responses you need on a timely basis? What's a timely basis? Our response time is 24 to 48 hours. Very rarely are we pushing more than 48 hours. But I think within a week is a reasonable time. Sometimes we need to go look for answers. Just know what their understand the expectations of response time. How are their fees structured? Do they do monthly fees? Do they do flat fee? Do they do value-based billing? They want to know, what is the value to you of these services? So there's different ways to structure fees. Understand their fee structure so that you understand how you're going to get charged. And then ask them if they provide the services you need and want. You should probably already know this. If you've looked at their website and it looks like they do, they probably do, but check that. I have people tell me all the time, so with my accountant, like when we talked to them initially into the initial consult, they talked about tax planning, they talked about all these things, but we never get those services. So understand if the services you're asking for are something they provide, and that they provide to a lot of their clients. Which is my next bullet, which is ask what their standard services are. Do most of their clients, are they mostly on monthly and have unlimited phone calls and emails? Do most of their clients have them doing their bookkeeping? What are their standard services? If they don't have package services, if they could build one, what would that look like? What do they usually provide? Pricing. Last thing you need to worry about. Because if you already know what you need, you've talked to this person, and you've probably paid for a consult, you have an idea of pricing. But if you love them and want to work with them, then ask them for a price quote, or ask them to do a peg diagnostic. If they haven't already asked for your tax returns, for access to your books, give them those things and ask them for a solid quote. Say, I need to know what the pricing is going to be, and I'm happy to pay you for your time to figure this out. 2 or 3 quotes, you know which accountant to go with. This is very similar to hiring a contractor. I just had this moment, right? We don't usually just be like, here person, I have a super easy remodel for you. Quote me, right? We have, Steven's standing right there. We have, we bring people into our house. We show them what we want. We show them pictures and examples, right? We make sure they can deliver on it. We ask them how fast it's going to be, right? Understand your expectations for service and ask them what their standards are. That is the easiest way. This mismanagement of expectations is one of the reasons if you were just fired from your accountant, why you were fired from your accountant. You might be expecting something they never offered you, or they're offering something they can't deliver on to you. So understand what your expectations are and make sure that it all lines up. Because working with an accountant that is a really good fit for you does nothing but add value to your business, does nothing but create growth, and help you stay compliant and on your path to your goals. Again, what are those goals? Find the correct accountant to work for you. So big takeaway on the action items on this one, which is actually probably similar to the last episode, but what do you want and what do you need? What are your long-term goals? And what are the specific things that would make an accountant a good fit for you and you a good fit for them? So that's it for this episode. And until next time, be abundant. Thank you so much for listening or watching. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, or wherever you prefer to listen. If you learned something and found some useful information to apply to your business today, please consider giving us a thumbs up and a review. Until next week, be abundant.